Hello and welcome to another review video, and today we will be reviewing Fear the Walking Dead Season 7 Episode 8. And I'm so happy we get another Alicia episode, and we haven't had one since Episode 14 of Season 6. That's the last time we saw her. I'm not counting Episode 7 of this season because she's basically a cameo. And I really like Alicia in this episode. She carries the episode really well. Like, we've had some ropey episodes this season with like characters that are clearly background characters trying to carry an episode when they can't. And I'm so happy they've given it an original Fear character, a whole episode to themselves. I know Strand's got a couple, but Strand is the main villain. He kinda has to. But Alicia really goes with this episode, and it's really good. I really am happy Alicia's in this episode. She has some really cool things in this episode, and some really shocking things in the episode. So the overall plot of the episode is that after Episode 7 happened, you kinda need to watch Episode 7 to understand what happens in this episode. It's less anthology-like. I like how it's becoming less anthology-like as we're going through a season. But this episode is completely not filler, because the whole plot of this episode is Alicia and Morgan trying to find Padre. And then you have Strand just trying to kill Morgan. And then he finds out he's got Alicia with him, and now he's trying to get Alicia to come to the tower with him. And that's basically the premise of the episode. Strand following and try to track down Alicia and Morgan, while Alicia and Morgan try and find Padre. And this episode is broken into two parts. There's two plots in this episode. And guess what? They both got to do with Alicia, which is great. We see Alicia now, and we see Alicia past Alicia. We see Alicia back just after the bombs dropped. We see two parts of Alicia's time, and it's so good to see where Alicia was, where she hated everyone she was with, to everyone where she is now. And I really, really like how we see where Alicia got to this point and how she did it and what she was doing while everyone was up in the bombs, while everyone was trying to stop Strand and fight and everything. And I really like it because we actually do find out Alicia's reaction to the nukes going off and find out that Strand's basically the reason they happened. I really like that whole premise. This episode is just really well paced. Like, it has two plots going on, and most Fear episodes now only have one plot. There's no subplots, but this episode has a subplot, and the subplot is just as interesting as the main plot because they are interlinked. They kind of connect to each other and they make sense. We got Will to come back from episode 1 because it takes place before episode 1, and I was a bit kind of like ruined by bringing Will back, because Will in episode 1 said he loved Alicia, and they're like, okay, they must have had some sort of relationship. No, okay, we're in the flashbacks we get, there's literally like no relationship there. Will comes off as a bit of a creep. He loved her when it looks like they were only together and they only interacted for a couple of days, maybe a week or two. And then the bombs went off, then an incident happened, and then Alicia was in hospital. She fell asleep, kind of blacked out, because you know what happens when you're in hospital. They go, oh, they black out, and Will's gone. And somehow over that short, maybe two weeks there, Will fell in love with her. I feel that is really stupid. It makes Will come off as a bit creepy in episode 1 now. Will's now this creepy guy who fell in love with Alicia over 2 weeks, and then ran off. And you're like, okay, well, thanks for ruining Will for me, because I thought he was quite a decent character in episode 1. Now in episode 8, he comes off as a creep on Alicia. That's what it just kind of feels like. That's the one downside of having these flashbacks with Alicia and Will. But the main characters in this episode are definitely Alicia, Morgan, and Strand. They're the standout characters. Will, he's a bit of a creep. Dwight and Sherry, they're kind of cameos, but Morgan and Alicia, I really like those two interacting with each other. Those are the best. And then when Strand and Alicia interact, especially at the end, that is just like God tier drama. It's like amazing. I love when those two characters are back together, because they haven't shared a scene since I think episode 10 of season 6. It's been a long time since these characters have seen each other. Now I'm about to get into some slight spoilers about the ending and these big incidents in this episode, because there's like some very big moments in this episode, and with these big moments it makes it worth, and it makes it feel like a mid-season finale, because it's so good. There's lots of big moments, and it sets up, you're like, this is definitely a mid-season finale. This is a better mid-season finale than episode 8 of season 11 of The Walking Dead. That was a terrible mid-season finale. This is a great mid-season finale because it pushes the story forwards so much. It sets everything up. You exactly know where it's going to go in the second half, because this episode really sets everything up. It's really good with the story, and the plot just moves everything forward. It chugs along at this speed. It's like kind of breaking it, but you understand what's happening. And it's really good because you're like, okay, I know what's going to happen. It was lots of fun. There's no filler in it, but let's go straight on to the main events of this episode. And the big moments of this episode is that Alicia's not very well. She's sick. I'm not going to say what happened. She's just not very well. She could be sick from, I don't know, food poisoning or radiation. You can imagine whatever you want. But Alicia, she's a bit under the weather. Only a bit under the weather. And what they're doing with her, some big jaw-dropping moments happen in this episode. And you're like, what are they actually going to do with Alicia? And this is really cool if they actually do this with Alicia. Because, you know, the actor isn't very happy with the way she's been handled on this show. And with the showrunners giving her this storyline, this arc, by making her like this and doing this event to her, it could either be one of two things. It could be the next Carl incident, like The Walking Dead had, and the showrunners get fired because it's that bad and that drawn out and just terrible. Or it could be one of the best story arcs that they gave a character in Fear the Walking Dead. It could go two ways, and I really hope it goes down the one of the best story arcs, what they're doing with Alicia and how they're gonna tell her story, and these big events that happen in these episodes actually mean something and not just big shockers be like, oh, we've done this to Alicia, look at her now, we've changed her, and they'd be like, okay, that means nothing. But it was shocking to see that moment. You're like, wait, what? Has this happened? But then Alicia can just kind of be like, nah mate, I'm fine, or I don't want them to do that. But I do believe, more likely, it's going to be a dud. This is going to be the next Carl incident. They're going to treat Alicia's new arc that they're giving her with her being sick really bad. And it's just going to be like, oh, well, she kind of fizzled out. They kind of, I don't know, if she dies, they'd be like, oh, yeah, if she dies, well, then we just kind of drawed out her death for like 8 episodes. You know, Carl's death was drawn out for 2 episodes. If Alicia dies now from this arc, because I don't think they would kill her, or it's going to be something stupid. But if she does somehow die at the end of this arc, I'm going to be a little peeved off because it's been drawn out a really long time. And that's just the worry. There are some sort of issues I have with this episode, and they're really annoying. They're slightly annoying me, and they dig into me. And that is how they made Alicia believe some stupid things. Like, they are idiotic. So basically, in this episode, Alicia and Morgan are trying to find Padre by following a walker. And even in the flashbacks of this episode, they established that Alicia doesn't believe this. They believe that walkers are husks. They don't have, like, past knowledge. They don't remember things. Even though we've been told in canon they do slightly remember things when they fresh turn, but not after they fresh turn. The walker's been dead for like a couple months, and somehow she believes it still remembers things, even though they established not. And the reason why she believes they remember things is super idiotic, just because the walker followed some rats out of the bunker, and you know, oh, following rats out of the bunker means they remember how to escape, not just it followed rats. And because of the stupid things, Alicia just risks her life to save this walker. It's just a giant leap in logic they gave Alicia for this one thing. Other than that, Alicia's really good this episode. I like what they did to the character. I like the arc they're going to give the character. I like the jaw-dropping moments they give this character when you think Alicia's going to die. I really like that. That is just so compelling and so entertaining, and it's good TV. Until she just body slams a walker to try and stop Strand from killing it, you know. Stupidity always comes in the slightest bits in every Fear episode, and just kind of annoyed me. But other than that downside, we're going to have a positive side. Strand feels like a real villain this episode. He goes out his way to try and murder Morgan. I know Morgan tried to kill him, but Strand tried to kill Morgan first, so they were evenies, and then Strand wanted to one-up the evenies. So Morgan was being hunted down by Strand this episode. And then Strand tried to kill Morgan. Was like, I'm going to push you into walkers. And then Alicia had to jump in and body slam a walker to save Morgan from being killed by Strand. I really liked that. I really liked how Strand is so mean to everyone else, but when Alicia's in, he lets down his walls. It's really good. I really like Strand. He feels like a real villain this episode for the first time. He feels like a real villain. And then the ending is just absolutely the best part of this episode. It's done so well, and it sets up so much. It's such a good ending, unlike The Walking Dead Season 8's ending, which is terrible. This is great because it sets up all-out war between Alicia and Strand, and this is how Rick and Negan Season 7 should have been. Like, Season 7 should have been condensed to half a season, Season 8 should have been the back half of Season 7, and this is what we should have got, but we got it here in Fear. And it was so good because Alicia was so close to joining Strand until she saw Will's dead body, and then she was like, that's it, Strand, you're dead to me, I want to kill you. And then it ends there. And it's so good because we're finally getting Alicia versus Strand. And I feel like this will be a way better fight than Morgan versus Strand. And if they focus on Alicia in the second half of the season, it's going to be so much better to have Alicia versus Strand, because Alicia has a whole community. I really don't want them to have, okay, Alicia just kind of, I don't know, disappears and Morgan takes Alicia's space as the leader. So it's still Morgan versus Strand. It better be Alicia versus Strand, because it's just more emotional and it'd be a better death for Strand if Alicia's the one putting the knife in. Now let's move on to our one sentence, last one word overview, and this episode is absolutely fantastic. The pacing is great. The story is completely story. There's no filler. Like, this is all focused on moving the story forwards. Alicia is so good to have her back, and she's a great main character, and she should be the main character for more episodes, not just this one episode. Strand finally feels like a villain, and I really like that. Morgan is a side character like he should be. It's just lots of good things when it has little things. The story is just so good. I really like the plot A and plot B thing where we see past Alicia and now Alicia. I really like it. It's so good. The big moments are very shocking. The ending is fantastic. But have you seen this episode? Because I really recommend you watch this episode. Watch it as soon as you can, because it is great. But tell me what you think down below. And if you want more content, look on the screen and feel free to subscribe for more reviews, talks, and anything about Walking Dead. You'll find it here. So goodbye, peace out, and I'll talk to you later.